All right, let's go. Welcome into this edition of the Red Sox Rundown. I am your host, Jack Lotteray. We have a loaded show to talk about today. Injury news, roster intel, takeaways from the last 2 days of spring training. It's a loaded show. I'm not going to waste a lot of time. Make sure you go follow me on Twitter right now. We are trying to get to 1,500 followers by opening day. We are always posting highlights over there, the latest news, rumors, intel, everything that we get, you're going to find on Twitter. That's going to be linked down below in the comments and description of today's video. 1,500 followers is what we're trying to get to by opening day. Not going to waste any time. A lot to talk about. Romy Gonzalez, bad injury news. I think a lot of us saw this coming, but now it's basically confirmed. Romy talked about his injury, talked about whether or not he'd be ready for opening day, and here's the quote from the source. Yeah, honestly, I don't think so. At this point, I think the ramp up would be a little too quick, and it'd be a disservice to feel like it'd be a disservice, I feel like, to myself and to the team if I'm not ready to roll and have a good build up. I think we all assumed this. This has been the reports. This has been the predictions. This is what everyone has said. We've talked about this a few times now, that it seemed like Romy Gonzalez was not going to be ready for opening day. And now Romy's basically confirming it because there's just not enough time. Like, there's still like another week and a half until he's even going to be reevaluated with his shoulder. And then they have to make a decision. Is it surgery? Is it rest? What is it? So it doesn't seem like Romy is going to be ready. So what does that mean? It means that Andrew Monasterio probably, as of right now, has an inside track at making the 26-man roster. And I think it's deserved. I think that he does everything that Romy does. He plays a relatively solid defensive second base. He mashes against lefties. He's got good speed. He's got good versatility. So it seems like Monasterio is going to be the guy. I'd be perfectly okay with that. Every day that goes by, I think the Caleb Durbin trade looks more and more enticing in the favor of the Red Sox. And it does suck for Romy because, last year he had an opportunity. He played really, really well. And I felt like this year was going to be a year where he really had another step up and really broke out because he was going to be getting a lot more time than he got last year as that true platoon mate to Marcelo Meyer. Now starting off the season, probably going to start the year on the IL. I would assume is going to start the year on the IL at this point. And we could be walking in, I've said this a few times, that we could be walking into a Wally Pipp situation where if Andrew Monasterio plays so good, Romy might not have a spot. And so it really sucks for him because I feel like he earned the spot, and for an injury to kind of derail that just really sucks. But that's the world we live in. The world moves on, baseball moves on, and you're going to have to find a replacement, and it seems like Andrew Monasterio is going to be that guy. Let's talk about Brendan Rodgers. We got a little more injury news now than just Romy Gonzalez. So in yesterday's game, he dove for a ball at second, went to reach for it. He didn't make the play. He went to reach for it, and then he was instantly hurt. And instantly what I thought of was Trevor Story from 2 years ago when he dives in Anaheim and hurts his shoulder, and he's out for basically the rest of the year. So Tim Healy had the initial report coming off with an apparent injury, landed awkwardly trying to make a diving catch. Initially, the Red Sox just called it shoulder pain. That's literally all they called it. And then Brendan Rodgers said he didn't hurt his shoulder on the dive, but instead when he reached for the ball afterwards, and it was awkward, it was an awkward position that he was in, he said the initial tests were promising, but he's pretty sore and hopes he'll feel better when he wakes up tomorrow. Well, according to Alex Cora, he was still pretty damn sore today, and he did get an MRI. We have not heard the results of the MRI. As soon as I hear, I'll tweet about it. That's why you should follow me on Twitter, and I'll make sure you guys know what's going on. But it does not seem, like it's going to be anything major, but we'll see. Hopefully he is rests up because he's actually had a pretty good spring so far. And, as we're going to talk about with Cotillo's piece on the roster, he has an outside shot to make the roster, the 26-man, to break camp. So for him to get an injury, that's unfortunate. And so we'll see what happens. But I want you to let me know, does Brendan Rodgers have a shot at the roster? He's played pretty well to start spring training. He's hit the ball pretty well. He's played some pretty good defense. It could happen. You let me know. Y for yes, N for no. Do you think Brendan Rodgers has a shot to make the roster. Let's get right into this roster intel. Chris Cotillo put out a revised 26-man roster projection article. If you've not read it, go read it. There's a whole bunch of news and nuggets in there, but I had 3 things in particular that I wanted to talk about. The first one is on the rotation, specifically the number 5 spot in the rotation. Here's what Cotillo had to say. He said, as of now, Johan Oviedo, despite having minor league options remaining, has the inside lane to the spot, according to sources, because he's fully healthy and without restrictions entering camp. Obviously, Patrick Sandoval and Cutter Crawford are still a little bit behind. Cutter Crawford had the flu and is still coming back from his injuries. Patrick Sandoval's taking it slow. So, Oviedo has the upper hand there. Outings like his erratic debut on Wednesday could lead the Red Sox to look elsewhere, though, and he did mention Early and Tolley as potentials to make the roster. He says he thinks they'll start the year in AAA, but if they, wow and pitch really well, there is a chance. And, Connolly Early looked pretty good in his first outing in spring. Tolley has been a little erratic. We're going to talk about him here in a few minutes. But Early's looked pretty good. So there's worlds where Early could force his way in if he continues to pitch at a really high rate and show really good things. But right now it seems like Oviedo's got the inside track. That's been my prediction. We'll see what happens. Ryan Watson is a name to watch. Cotillo had this. He said, Watson, as a Rule 5 pick with big stuff, will be given every chance to make the team because of his unique roster situation. He's already on the 40-man. He was acquired in the Rule 5 draft. Like he said, he's got big stuff. He's everything the Red Sox look for in a pitcher. He's pitched pretty impressively in spring so far. He's had some pretty solid outings as of late. And Cotillo has him in the Red Sox bullpen to start the year. He's a righty. He's not a lefty. He's got Giovanni Moran making the roster as the lefty reliever. But something to watch. When Ryan Watson's on the mound during spring training, that's a name to watch when he has his outings. How does he pitch? How does he look? How does he get through all of these different things? That's a name to watch. I found that note to be one of the more interesting notes in the article from Cotillo. Lastly, on infield utility players, because we were talking about Brendan Rodgers just a second ago with his injury, Cotillo had an interesting piece. He said, for now, Monasterio, as a versatile player who can hit lefties and is on the 40-man roster, has the inside track. He's basically talking about who's going to replace Romy Gonzalez. But Rodgers and utility man Nate Eaton are 2 guys who could push Monasterio with a strong camp if healthy. And this was released after Rodgers got hurt on Wednesday. So it's something to watch. Nate Eaton's also put together a pretty impressive camp to start. He's played pretty well whenever he's gotten the opportunity. Brendan Rodgers is the same. Again, unfortunate that he suffered that shoulder injury yesterday. We will continue to update you as we get updates on him. But it does seem like Andrew Monasterio, as we have predicted here on the channel, it has the inside track to make the opening day roster. I think that's what's going to happen. Like I said, I've said it since the Romy injury came out that it's Monasterio's job to lose. And that seems to be the reporting from Cotillo. So it's a good article. There's a lot more in there. Go check it out if you've not already. Those were the 3 notes that I thought were the most noteworthy. But you let me know down below, because part of that article was talking about some potential surprise additions to the 26-man opening day roster. Let's have some fun. Name a surprise Red Sox roster addition. I think that Connolly Early could be that, because I think most of us are projecting him to start the year in AAA. Could Christian Campbell be that? Could he break camp, have a big enough impression to break camp? You let me know. Name a surprise Red Sox roster addition that you think makes the 26-man roster. Let me know down below in the comments section. All right, last but not least, let's have some spring training takeaways from yesterday and today. Obviously, didn't have a video yesterday because of the NFL Draft Combine, which I had talked about. But we got one today. So I want to talk about Wednesday and Thursday's games, what I saw, what I thought was interesting, and then we're going to get on out of here. So let's talk about Wednesday first. The Red Sox ended up winning the game. The first note that I have automatically is Jarren Duran goes 2 for 3. He's looked fantastic so far this spring training. He's about to head off to the World Baseball Classic with Team Mexico, so we'll see how he plays there. But so far, so good for Duran in spring. It's a really good sign because, he did have quite a bit of regression last year from his All-Star MVP season in 2024. I don't think any of us are expecting him to be the 8-WAR player he was in 2024, but I think we're expecting him to go back up a little bit in production, and he has looked really, really good so far in spring. Brendan Rodgers, like we said, left with the injury, but before that, he had 2 RBIs. He's continued to put together a really impressive camp. Hopefully the injury is not anything serious so he can continue to compete for a spot, but it's something to watch nonetheless. Carlos Narvaez has an RBI and a walk. He's looked good at the plate to start the year. I think a lot of people think he's going to regress. I didn't think he had an incredibly impressive offensive year last year. I mean, 15 home runs is really good, but I think he's going to have a better year at the plate. I think his plate discipline, I think with the ABS system, he's going to get a lot more calls that go his way. I expect him to have either the same or better year. I don't think there's going to be a lot of regression with Narvaez in 2026. Rafaela was in the 2 spot. I thought that was interesting. I think that's maybe just because the entire Major League lineup was not in. And they had some of the, fringe guys in the game, at the bottom of the lineup. But I did think it was interesting nonetheless. I don't think that'll really turn into anything, but we'll see. And then Oviedo makes his Red Sox debut. 3 walks, but no runs. So he did get into some jams, but it was good to see him get out of the jams. Some work to do, a little bit erratic, but an interesting day from Oviedo overall. And then lastly, from Wednesday, Garrett Whitlock and Justice Slayton are nails once again. They're fantastic. I think that the back end of our bullpen could rival the best in all of baseball this year. I'm very excited to see them pitch more, but they were absolutely fantastic on Wednesday. We'll talk about Thursday real quick as well. Couldn't watch it. It was just on radio. It was Crochet and Chapman's first games of the spring training. I thought that was absolute sacrilege, but it is what it is. They both looked great. Crochet 2 innings shut. No Ks, or maybe 1 K, I don't remember, but he looked dominant. Nonetheless. And Aroldis Chapman, 3 strikeouts in 1 inning of work. He looked awesome. They're our dudes. They're really, really good. Same in terms of Duran as Trevor Story today. He went 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs. He's looked also fantastic so far. He's not playing in the World Baseball Classic, so he's going to be here. So continuing to watch how he plays in spring will be at least a little bit of an indication of how he's going to look in the season. Obviously, it's spring. You're not playing against all the good guys. So it is what it is. But at least seeing that he's in a good flow and he's hitting the ball well and putting together good at-bats, that's a good thing to see in spring training. Caleb Durbin goes 1 for 2. He has 2 RBIs. He played at second base today. He had a really great play at second base. I tweeted this out, tweeted the highlight out, and I said that he might be one of my favorite players at the end of the year. I think he's going to be absolutely fantastic. I'm really looking forward to seeing what he says. It's great. It's great. And then last but not least, Peyton Tolley. Not a great day from Peyton Tolley. 2 earned runs. He hit a few batters. Looked a little erratic from all reporting that I've seen. Not an ideal day for Tolley, who's vying for that number 5 spot. I don't think he's going to earn that spot. I think if one of the 2 rookies is going to, it's going to be Connolly early. But yeah, not a great day from him. Maybe that's because he came out of the bullpen. But even then, that's not great, because if you want to use him in September or the playoffs as a bullpen guy, that's not a great sign. I'm not going to put too much stake into it, but the hit batters is at least a little bit concerning. But we'll see. It was an interesting day, not an ideal day. It happens to everybody, but something to monitor over the next few times he has outings. How does he look? Does he look erratic? Does he look more in control? We shall see. What was your biggest takeaway from the last 2 days of Red Sox spring training? You let me know down below in the comments. I think my biggest takeaway is that Duran and Story both are looking really good. Those are my biggest takeaways, I think, that I've had just all of spring. But you let me know, what were your biggest takeaways from the last 2 days of spring training? That's it, guys. That's where we're going to end it. Thank you all so much for taking the time to watch this edition of the Red Sox Rundown. Make sure you subscribe if you have not already. 10K by opening day. We're getting close. We are slowly but surely getting there. We're a month away. So we've got 1 month to get to 10K. I think we can get there, but we'll see. Help me out. And go follow me on Twitter. It's going to be linked in the comments and description of today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. And until next time, go Sox.